students. So here in today's session we are going to start a poem by Isaac Watts and Lewis Carroll. The later part of the poem by Lewis Carroll is a parody of the previous part, that is Against Idleness and Mischief by Isaac Watts. So before going further, first of all, let's read the poem. The title of the poem is Against Idleness and Mischief, and How Doth the Little Crocodile. So here it goes. How doth the little busy bee improve its shining hour, and gather honey all the day from every opening flower? How skilfully she builds her cell, how neat she spread the wax, and labors hard to store it well with the sweet food she makes. By Isaac Watts. And now let's read the parody part. How doth the little crocodile improve his shining tail, and pour the waters of the Nile on every golden scale? How cheerfully he seems to grin, how neatly spread his claws, and welcome little fishes in with gently smiling jaws. This part, the parody part, is written by Lewis Carroll. So as we read this poem, so I keep on mentioning the word parody. So what parody actually means? So parody is a piece of writing. It is a kind of poem. It's a piece of writing that deliberately copies the style of something for comic effect. So the part written by Lewis Carroll, How Doth the Little Crocodile, it's a parody of the part of the poem, the previous part, the first part which we got, Against Idleness and Mischief, written by Isaac Watts. So this poem, Against Idleness and Mischief, it is an old morality verse. Earlier, each and every kids in olden days in England, each and every kids used to memorize this part of the poem. So here it's written, given below are two poems, Against Idleness and Mischief by Isaac Watts and its parody, How Doth the Little Crocodile by Lewis Carroll. The parody has been taken from the popular story Alice's Adventure in Wonderland. In this story, Alice fell down a rabbit hole, which we all know about the story of Alice in Wonderland, where she first drank a potion that made her shrink, made her small, become very short, very tiny one, and then she ate some cake that made her so large that her head stuck to the roof of the hall. Confused about her identity, she tried to repeat Isaac Watts' poem that everyone in those days learned by heart. But the poem came out all wrong. So it was a trend, it was a trend at the time. The kids, they by heart this part, they learned this part of the poem, Against Idleness and Mischief. Here you are getting only two stanzas, two more stanzas are there. So we are not going to discuss about the third and fourth stanza. So just stick up with these two stanza. So the first stanza, it talks about the poet spend his time wondering how the little honeybee is busy, how it becomes energetic as the day goes, and further wonders how the bee can gather honey all day from flower to flower without getting tired. And the second stanza, how skillfully she builds her wax. So in the second stanza, Isaac Watts tells us how skillfully the female honeybee builds cell without the within the honeycomb. How the bee neatly spread wax and makes honey from nectar for proper storage. So this poem, it is about the dwindling state of mind of Alice when she uttered these lines, this first part. She was confused. She was confused about her own identity. She was trying hard not to get diverted or not to let her mind go astray. She wanted to keep focus. And as I told you earlier, that this poem is an old morality verse. So to get inspiration, to get positive vibes in mind and soul. So kids, children at that time, they keep on uttering, they keep on saying these lines. So it talks about being a very tiny creature, the bees, honeybees, without, from the time the sun shines, from that very time till the sun sets, the whole day the honeybee keeps on walking. It improves its shining hour. That means the more bright it becomes, the day becomes more bright. They keep on, the more hard walking the honeybees become. Say they get to collect the nectars from flower to flower, bringing it back and storing there, which they already built with the spreading wax and making the honeycomb, and they store that nectar and make the food for them for the later part of the year. So being a tiny one, still it never loses its job, it never loses its faith in its work. So keep on working, very much concerned, very much their focus to their job, what they are for. So they never let their mind go astray. So Alice at that moment, she was trying to make herself realize that who she is and what was her job. She should stick up with that particular thing. She should not let her mind go anywhere, but to focus, to keep on focusing what she is, how she fall down there in that rabbit hole, what she is going to do, how she will come out of that. So this morality verse, these lines, this poem gives a positivity in thinking and in handling the difficult situation. So this is what the first part, the poetry of by Isaac Watts, Against Idleness and Mischief, it talks to us. Now, Lewis Carroll, in the later part, he satirically written some lines as a parody to the first part of the poem by Isaac Watts, Against Idleness and Mischief. So what this line says by Lewis Carroll: how doth the little crocodile, here dot is it's the old English form for the word does, does, does. So how doth the little crocodile, improving his shining tail, and pours the water of the Nile on every golden scale. How cheerfully he seems to grin, how neatly spread his claws, and welcome little fishes in with gently smiling jaws. Just by reading this part, it looks very funny, it looks very humorous. Once Isaac Watts, in his part, he talked about the busy bees, and here Lewis Carroll, creating a parody, mocking up the bee, he took the creature crocodile. We all know that crocodile is a very dangerous creature. It lies down on the water, and whenever it's some other creatures comes, so it directly attacks it. So the comparison of crocodile and bee, it's quite indistinct. It's not similar. It's very satiric. It's kind of very humorous. in a poetic form. So Lewis Carroll, he intended to make it quite humorously. He framed these lines and he tries to make a humorous frame of the previous part of the poem, against idleness and mischief.